Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Sean with ChristianUnite, and this is Reading Through the Bible. Good evening, everyone. This is Pastor Sean with ChristianUnite, sponsored by CarliFilms, and this is Reading Through the Bible. Today, we're going to be reading Revelation chapter 13 and 12. So let's get to it. Chapter 13, the second beast. Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth, and had two horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. It exercises all authority of the first beast in its presence, and makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the beast whose mortal wound was healed. It performs great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in front of people. And by the signs that it allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceived those who dwell on earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that was wounded by the sword, and yet lived. And it was allowed to give birth to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak, and might cause those who not worship the image of the beast to be slain. And it causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark. That is the name of the beast, or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is number of the man, and his number is 666. The first beast. And I saw a beast rising out of the sea, with 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 diadems on its horns, and blasphemous names on its head. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard. Its feet were like a bear's, and its mouth was like a lion's mouth. And to the dragon gave power and throne and great authority. One of its heads seemed to have a mortal wound, but its mortal wound was healed. And the whole earth marveled as they followed the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, for he had given his authority to the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, "Who is the beast, and who can fight against it?" And the beast was given a mouth, uttering haughty and blasphemous words, and it was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. It opens its mouth to utter blasphemous against God, blaspheming his name and his dwelling, that is, those who dwell in heaven. And it is allowed to make war of the saints and to conquer them, and authority was given it over the tribe and people of the language of the nation, and all who dwell on earth will worship it, everyone whose name has not been written for the foundation of the world in the book of life and the Lamb who was slain. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. So both of these passages in Revelation 13 refer to two people. When you look up the meaning, it's going to be the Antichrist and the false prophet. The Antichrist is going to have the system of the mark of the beast, which is going to be where you cannot buy or sell unless if you have the mark. So during this time, these two beasts are going to be some type of political power during the time that this is taking place. And anyone who refuses to abide or bow down to these two individuals, they will be hunted and killed for their faith and for refusing the mark. So it's going to be scary times, because these two political leaders will literally force themselves on others that they will be worshipped, and anything else will cause death. So during these times, whoever is here will have to really be careful when they're seeing this stuff happen. Now we're going to go ahead and read chapter 12, starting on verse 7. Now war arose in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. And the great dragon was thrown down, the ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. And I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, "Now the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ had come, for the accuser of our brothers has been thrown down, who accuses them day and night before our God. And they have conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, for they loved not their lives unto death. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you will dwell in them. But woe to you, O earth and sea, for the devil has come down to you in great wrath, because he knows that his time is short. And when the dragon saw that he had been thrown down to earth, he pursued the woman who had given birth to the male child. But the woman was given the 2 wings of the great eagle, so that she might fly from the serpent in the wilderness, to the place where she is to be nourished for a time. And time and a half time, the serpent poured water like a river out of his mouth after the woman to sweep her away with a flood. But the earth came to help the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed the river that the dragon had poured from his mouth. Then the dragon became furious with the woman and went off to make war on the rest of her offspring, on those who keep the commandment of God and hold to the testimony of Jesus. And he stood on the sand of the sea. So these verses talk about a war in heaven taking place. Now, you can also point back to Genesis, or the beginning of time. There was a fight between angels and Satan and his army as well that took place. And Satan was cast into the earth. Now, the difference is this one is eternal, where Satan is cast out forever. And during this time, it talks about Satan going after a woman. The woman is actually translated as Israel. So Satan's going against God's people. And during this time, Satan will literally attack any believer or Christian because he knows that his time is short. And now we're going to read verses 1 through 6 from chapter 12. The woman and the dragon. And a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and the head of a crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant and was crying out in pains, in agony of giving birth. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon, with 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his head 7 diadems. His tail swept down a third of the stars of heaven and cast them to earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she bore her child, he might devour it. She gave birth to a male child, one who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. But her child was caught up to God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place to be prepared by God, in which she is to be nourished for 1,260 days. So, just to break down what these verses mean, this is actually talking about Israel, again, as the woman. But the child is actually representing Jesus, because Jesus was sent to earth and then resurrected and actually went to heaven. So this is actually talking about Jesus in this passage. Thank you for listening to this edition of Reading Through the Bible. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you again next week.